Good evening, brethren. Tonight we're going to have a special report called Who Builds in the Pre-Millennial Kingdom. Here we see a picture of the actual headquarters of the kingdom, or the main antitypical temple that will be rebuilt according to Ezekiel in the kingdom in the final days of the gospel proclamation. We don't think this will probably be the headquarters per se. This will be more for the sake of worship, but there will be a headquarters in the land of the Holy Land. We don't know exactly the area, but it's supposed to be in the center part of the Holy Land, Israel. And of course, there's a map, I believe, that we put out on another study that shows more of a specific areas of this land division. But thank you for joining us. We hope you'll be blessed. We're going to go more into this pre-millennial kingdom, and it's going to be interesting to give some more information about it. So we ask that all the listeners reverently kneel and pray and ask the Lord to guide them into all truth, John 16:13, and we can claim that promise. Let's begin. Okay, in Haggai 2:9 we read, "The glory of this latter house shall be greater than of the former, saith the Lord of hosts. And in this place I will give peace, saith the Lord of hosts." The promise is that the glory which attended Solomon's temple shall be far exceeded by the antitypical one, which is to be built by the church purified. The church during the harvest time, the time in which God shakes the heaven, the earth, and the nations during the great and dreadful day of the Lord. 1 TG number 13, page 5. So here we see that this end time great temple that we showed you before is going to be exceedingly great, more so than Solomon's temple. And who's it going to be built by? The church purified, brethren. And we can only know that as Seventh-day Adventists who have walked in all the light from the Elijah message, and that they are known as Davidian Seventh-day Adventists if they've accepted the message in full. So this is going to be built by the 144,000. There'll be other builders here, but this is a good reference to start. All right, so the goals of the study. Number 1, who builds the premillennial kingdom in the Holy Land? Number 2, what kind of building up will this be? Modern or as in times past? In other words, is this building up going to be to set it all back as it was anciently, and have all the historic lands and make everything as it was in times past, or is it going to be more of a modern build-up? Will this kingdom be a long-lasting one or of short duration? Number 4, how populated will this kingdom be? So these are our 4 basic questions that we're going to endeavor to answer throughout our study. All right, so let's look at this quote here, and it says, "Since these promises about the kingdom were not fulfilled in the day of Zerubbabel's temple, the subject becomes crystal clear that they are now to be fulfilled, and since these latter-day truths are now revealed to us, we must be the builders of it, the glory of which is to exceed all the glory of the past. Moreover, the place where this antitypical temple is to be situated is to have peace, and the way that peace is completely to be achieved is told in Haggai 2, verse 21 and 22. Speak to Zerubbabel, governor of Judah, saying, I will shake the heavens and the earth. I will overthrow the throne of kingdoms, and I will destroy the strength of the kingdoms of the heathen. And I will overthrow the chariots and those that ride in them, and the horses and their riders shall come down, every one by the sword of his brother." So we see here again that we've highlighted some great areas. We must be the builders of it. So again, we get confirmation, just like we did in the prior reference, that the 144,000, those that are proclaiming the truth right now, will be the builders of it. And also we see that this place of this antitypical temple and the surrounding areas will be in a time of peace. In other words, some brethren I've heard say, oh, during this gigantic war, the 144,000 are going to go over there and they're going to start building the the kingdom while it's in the war. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? It's ridiculous. So this gives us more clarity about this situation. Okay, so here we see a very key part of this kingdom. The Lord our King directs it all. And speak unto him, saying, Thus speaketh the Lord of hosts, saying, Behold, the man whose name is the branch, and he shall grow out of his place, and he shall build the temple of the Lord. Joshua is well instructed that the burden and ingenuity for building this spiritual temple belongs to him, capital H, whose name is the branch. He is to grow out of his place. To him be the glory. He alone is to be exalted. He is to build the temple of the Lord. 1TG number 8, page 27. So, once again here, brethren, we get more clues about this kingdom setup. And we see that the Lord is the actual builder. He's the one that's going to be in charge, the director. He's not going to physically build, but he's going to direct all the building. And this is a very powerful clue here. All right, so who else builds in the kingdom? Well, we find that in Zechariah 1, verse 20 and 21. And the Lord showed me 4 carpenters. Then I said, What come these to do? And he spake, saying, These are the horns which have scattered Judah, so that no man did lift up his head, but these are come to fray them, to cast out the horns of the Gentiles, which lifted up their horn over the land of Judah to scatter it. And here's the interpretation. Here the same powers which scattered Judah and Israel are again seen, not as horns, but as carpenters, not to scatter God's people, but to build for them, and to cast out the horns, powers of the Gentiles, those who rule the land. Plainly then, on the one hand, the nations which do not rule Palestine are to arise as horns against those who rule it, and on the other hand, they are to rise as carpenters for the people of God. Thus will the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. So we have a lot of powerful information here, brethren. We see that these horns, which are none other than the powers that are sent by God, first to kick out the rulers of this Holy Land, and then they're going to, after they kick them out, they're going to have another job, and that is to be as carpenters for the people of God. In other words, for the 144,000, these people will direct, will work under the direction of the 144,000 to rebuild the kingdom. All right, so we get to the next question. What kind of kingdom, modern or ancient? So we see on the left hand a picture of more or less a modern kingdom today, a modern city, and we refer that in modern terms as a city, not kingdom. But in the old days, they referred to them as kingdoms. And then on the right side is the picture of more of an old ancient type of kingdom. And so which one is it going to be? What type of kingdom are we looking at for the future gospel headquarters? Well, we get some good answers, and that can be found in 5 Answer, page 22 and 23. The members of the Kingdom Church are, according to Isaiah, to be skilled in their respective trades and professions, as builders, engineers, carpenters, masons, mechanics, or whatever. They are to build the old waste, raise up the former desolations, and repair the waste cities, the desolations of many generations, Isaiah 61:4. They are also to be animal husbandmen, wine growers, expert agriculturists, and as such, they are to be skilled in the science of management, employing thousands of aliens, not only to minister to their needs and to build, Isaiah 60:10, but also to stand and feed their flocks, and to be their plowmen and vine dressers, Isaiah 61:5. Let's stop here for a second. This is powerful, brethren, because this gives us a lot of clues about that kingdom. We see that it's a blend we see that there's builders and engineers. Well, engineers are part of modern society today. Mechanics, part of modern society today. And we see expert agriculturists and so forth. So we see a lot of mixture here. And also we see that the kingdom directors in the kingdom will be employing thousands of aliens. Excuse me. And what does that mean? That means that they are not necessarily part of the kingdom, but they're not against it. Okay, they seem to be some type of workers that the Lord employs to bring in to help the kingdom be set up. So this is like I said, this is a very very powerful clue here about this kingdom. All right, let's go on to the next paragraph. Thus it is that the study in the agricultural lines should be the ABC of education given in our schools. Testimonies, Volume 6, page 179. Pure, practical religion will be manifest in treating the earth as God's treasure house. The more intelligent a man becomes, the more should religious influence be radiating from him. And the Lord would have us treat the earth as a precious treasure lent us in trust. Testimony Minister, page 245. Again, this is 5 answer, page 2223. One of the most excellent areas, brethren, where you want to learn about this kingdom is found in that answer area right there, page 22 and 23. And this is another one of that area there. Besides being skilled agronomist, some of these words, I'm sorry, they just trip me up here. Artisans and tradesmen, these governors of the kingdom, as living embodiments of the genuine Christianity, are to be expert international bankers. Look at there. Economists, personal and traffic engineers, and provisioners, together handling the forces and riches of the Gentiles. Isaiah 6, 5, 11, 61, 6. And thus variously equipped with these excellent proficiencies, they are above all to be priests of the Lord, ministers of our God. Men wondered at. Isaiah 61, 6, Zechariah 3, verse 8. So here again we see powerful clues that this is definitely going to have a modern element to it, because we know that expert international bankers are modern endeavors, modern businesses. And so this is going to be mixed in with the kingdom to form the pre-millennial kingdom. It's fascinating how all of this is going to come together and be glorifying the Lord. In other words, what we gather from this is international bankers per se are not bad people. They can be good people. And any endeavor, traffic engineer, economist, anything that is a job related can be good thing. In other words, if we do it honestly, to the best of our ability, and yet put the Lord first in our lives, these jobs can be a blessing. All right, let's go on to the next question. How long in this kingdom? Well, we have a lot of good clues here. In that day, Zechariah 3:10, in that day, saith the Lord of hosts, shall ye call every man his neighbor under the vine and under the fig tree. In that day, in the day this purification takes place, the gospel work is to be quickly finished. Okay, there's our first clue. By every member of the Lord's house, by having every member of the Lord's house call his neighbor to his own patch of land, to that which God has preordained that everyone should have. Every member, therefore, is to be a missionary in one capacity or another. This indeed is the layman's movement that shall finish the gospel work. Wow, brethren. 1 TG number 8, page 25. So we see here that it's quickly to be finished, and that there's going to be allocated places for everyone in the kingdom. Okay, now the next one. Great changes are soon to take place in our world, and the final movements will be what? Rapid ones. Again, short duration. Testimonies for the Church, Volume 9, page 11. The bright light going among the living creatures with the swiftness of lightning represents the speed with which this work will finally go forward to completion. Again, speed. So it doesn't look like it's going to be dragged out. Thus will the gospel be finished by those who escape from the Lord slain, Isaiah 66:15 and 16, and the God's people will be quickly gathered from the four corners of the earth, happily brought as an offering to the house of the Lord, Isaiah 66:19 and 20. Again, this is found in Timely Greetings 2, number 22, page 26. Finally, the world's eyes will come open to the situation. One nation invites another nation. The gospel work will intensely speed up. TG1, number 5, page 5. So here we see preponderance of evidence. This wasn't all, by the way. We have another, probably would say close to 10 other references showing the kingdom time being rather swift. So this gives us good clarity. All right, so let's talk about the great multitude coming into the kingdom. Our sons and daughters in the faith shall come as a storm by air and by sea. They shall come because the Lord will glorify all his people. The call, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues, Revelation 18:4, shall indeed, along with the wealth of the Gentiles, bring out a great multitude which no man can number. So we see here in Revelation 7:9 that there is a great multitude along with the wealth of the Gentiles that is going to come into the land. Isaiah 60:10, and the sons of the strangers shall build up thy walls, and their kings shall minister unto thee. For in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor I have had mercy on thee. In Ezra and Nehemiah's time, the people of God, the Jews themselves, had to build against great odds. But for the church purified, the Gentiles shall gladly build. Not only the common people, but even their kings are to minister to the servants of God. Kings are now the bosses. But the day is almost here in which God's servants shall boss the kings. And the kings shall be glad to be bossed by them. Wow. Very powerful, brother. The whole world's hierarchy is going to be turned upended once this kingdom is set up. God's servants will be in charge. No longer will the kings of the earth be in charge to make laws against God's servants or hold them down like we see today with all these restrictions and so forth, and even the SDA leaders shutting down the present truth believers among the SDA. All this stuff is going to come to an end because God's going to cut the cord, cut the reins, like Zechariah 6, I believe it says, cut the reins and let them go. And the servants are going to be allowed to go to and fro the earth. It'll be a beautiful time. All right, let's get to our answers to the questions. Who builds the premillennial kingdom in the Holy Land? Well, we found that it's Christ the King, the director, the 144,000, and the horns, which are known as Gentiles and aliens. Those are the ones that, as we mentioned before, not necessarily believers or part of the kingdom, but they're workers for the Lord and the servants of God. Now, will they be converted? We don't know. Maybe they will because they're in so much influence with all much beauty around them in the kingdom. It's hard to see that these people will not come out of there being converted. What kind of building up will this be? Modern or as in times past? Well, we saw that it's a blend of both. Modern elements mixed with replica temple. We saw a picture of the temple in our first picture. And the holy sites, vineyards, gardens, etc. Keep in mind, brethren, as we envision this new premillennial kingdom, when we say that's going to be mixed, it truly will be, because there'll be gardens and parks and so forth that are beautiful, that are springing forth with God's blessing, reminding us of the Garden of Eden. Okay, that's going to be mixed in with the modern element. Okay, so it's going to be a blend of the two. Now, what are we going to find in the Garden of Eden areas? We're going to find the lamb laying down with the goat, or in the lion. A beautiful scenario. The little kid playing with them, playing with the poisonous snake in the snake hole. All of this is confirming and fulfilling Isaiah 11. You can read that. Isaiah 11 talks about this situation. Number 3, will this kingdom be a long-lasting one or of short